Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more interesting stories like these. Now, let's get into today's story video. AITA for not paying the kids that shoveled my driveway. Hello. I am one of many people in the Midwest who have been affected by the snowpocalypse. I believe we received around 14 inches where I live. I'd also want to preface this by saying that I despise children. I don't dislike them. I simply don't have much experience with children and haven't been compelled to have any of my own, 26 female. I work from home, and today there was a knock on my door. There was a gang of around 4 12-year-oldish youngsters who had shoveled my driveway and sidewalk and were now demanding money. They were expecting $15 apiece. I was perplexed since they had never knocked to inquire whether they might shovel my driveway. They just performed it without being asked and expected to be compensated. I was simply dumbfounded and sort of said, "I don't have any cash," and one of them brought up a smartphone and said they had their mother's Venmo account. Again, I continued repeating that I had never committed to pay them for anything since I was so confused. I had planned to plow my driveway after noon. I would have answered no if they had asked. The students were enraged and said, "You're not going to compensate us for our work." But once again, I did not request that they plow my driveway. They began shouting at me, and I just locked my door. After a few hours, their mother arrives and knocks on the door. When I opened it, she yelled at me for not paying their children. Her comments were as follows: "It's just $60, and it's definitely not going to break me, not wrong. They put forth the effort and should be compensated." Her guys did something wonderful for me. She was pleased of her sons for spending their snow day to assist others, and I was being ungrateful and threatening to make them resort to drugs the next time. This was the point at which I became enraged. I said that I had never requested their services, and although it was good that they shoveled my driveway, I had never agreed to pay them, and they should have asked first. She demanded that I pay them this time, and that they will ask again in the future. But I don't want to reinforce inappropriate conduct. This is not a pattern I want to maintain for these kids just because they are children and people feel the need to let them get away with anything they want. You can't trick someone into paying you for something they didn't ask for. I'm not sure. So far I've refused to pay, and I'm now being roasted on Nextdoor for being a callous monster who exploited children. So Reddit, AITA here, I'm turning to you. If I am, I suppose I'll simply pay them. I'm not sure whether I'm not seeing the scenario fully since I've never worked with children. Edit. Some folks are skeptical that I didn't hear them shoveling. That's a reasonable reason to be wary. So we did got 14 inches of snow, but my husband and I shoveled it yesterday. I'm not sure how much we shoveled compared to how much was left, but these kids did not shovel 14 inches on their own. My home office is located at the rear of our house, facing the backyard. It's the back you can go while still being inside, and I use headphones for meetings or music 90% of the time. As a result, I didn't hear them. Another question is the length of my driveway. It's a 2-car wide driveway that's probably 2 vehicles long. It's quite normal, so I thought $60 was excessive. Story 2. AITA for hurting my nephew's feelings with no. I, a 23-year-old male, lost a lot of money as a result of the epidemic and had to return home to my parents. Fortunately, I was able to acquire a work at a fast food restaurant and continue my education. I have 2 1/10 size RC vehicles and 1 micro. One of my cousins, I don't connect with my family because of the awful things they do, decided to come by unexpectedly with her 2 children. One of the kids seemed to be 10 years old, while the other appeared to be 7 or 8 years old, and they were both using their phones. My parents may speak for hours and not notice how much time has gone, so when I walked out of my room after completing schoolwork, the kids were complaining about how they couldn't use their mom's phone because the battery had died and they were bored. I left my door open, poor move, and said hello to the cousin. While I was welcoming her, her children decided to investigate the light coming from my room, which was my lock screen since I usually lock my computer when I go AFK. So they asked if they could play on my computer, to which I instantly answered no. Their mother, my cousin, gave me a side glance, as if telling kids no were some kind of great sin. She asked why not, and I said that I had schoolwork on the PC and that I didn't have to let her kids use it if I didn't want to. My parents hesitated but quietly consented since they couldn't force me to share my computer. But then the 7-year-old youngster grabbed the small vehicle and requested to play with it. I would have let them play with it, but my 9 mAh batteries took an hour to charge, and I knew they wouldn't be able to wait that long. So I responded no, and the child, of course, began to wail since he had been taught the prohibited word. Their mother inquired as to what the fuss was about, pointing out that it was just a toy automobile. It is a toy, however, owing to its equipment, it is not suitable for children to use. So I informed her once again that I said no and that he should return it. When the youngster realized I wasn't going to let him play with it, he started to yell loudly and hop up and down in a rage, and even hurled the vehicle as hard as he could into the floor. However, the car is sturdy, so no harm was done. The 10-year-old was merely looking silently while his younger sibling screamed and fell on the floor. When the cousin inquired how I could have no empathy and compassion for her children's sentiments, I just informed her coldly, I'm not responsible for tendering to your children, and if I say no, they won't utilize my items. I grabbed my vehicle and walked back into my room, putting it back and leaving the door, this time locking it, and the child was still gently weeping as his mother handed him a cookie. She began to lecture me about upsetting her child, but I cut her off with, you really need to educate your child that they can't have everything they want just because they are kids, and return to my room. My parents then reminded me that although it is my property, I might have been kinder about it, showing courtesy to kids younger than me and not being harsh to their mother. But I am certain that I have the right to decline. Edit. Thank you everyone for your encouragement. I see now that I was correct. Update. I've returned with an update for you all, and I'd want to thank you everyone for your replies. It's evident that I was correct to defend my property. My parents were attempting to play the role of the impartial party, as I recently questioned my mother why they wanted me to share my pastime RC vehicles with my nephews. My mother said that although it was my property, and I had the last say whether I wanted to use it or not, if I wanted to have a connection with my family, it would have been better to attempt to accommodate them. However, she believes that children with such equipment should not be playing with them. The majority of my mother's family is outside the nation, and the cousin is on my father's side. I'd ask her why her father's side of the family hadn't visited or spoken to us in a long time. However, she said that she would inform me later. Basically, my aunt cheated on her husband, and we housed him until he got back on his feet, and thus the family thought we were siding against blood. I eventually sold a mini RC vehicle from the previous article for a crawler, and I got a better work that pays less than my former one before the epidemic, but not by much, so I could rent a new apartment. To get to the point of this post, I had just settled down when my parents phoned to inform me that my cousin was throwing a birthday party for her younger kid. Oh boy. They primarily informed me that they were going but didn't actually invite me since they knew I wouldn't be in the mood to go. But I had the day off, and I chose to go, and I really wanted to be nice. So I purchased an RC vehicle from Walmart for like $1.25, and it was a buggy. He didn't seem upset for some reason. His mother even welcomed me without any scowls. I found it strangely relaxing since I knew how people can be and was on alert. Everything went well once I placed the gift among the others. When it came to the gifts, when the nephew got to mine, he was overjoyed, and he looked at me and thanked me. Later, when my cousin came to speak to me, I expected her to blame my worry for not getting him anything nicer. But she thanked me for the present and apologized for being late that day. According to her, my grandaunt, my dad's mom's sister, whom my cousin much respects, found out about what had transpired and, well, essentially scolded her, which served as a major wake-up call for my cousin. She is also the lady who was attempting to reunite the family, which is why my cousin paid her a visit that day. My cousin informed me that she used to believe that adults owed it to children's emotions and to make them happy, but now she's striving to be a better mother to them. I told her that I forgive her, and that maybe now we can play with her son's new vehicle with mine, though I'd surely win in a race brushless and LiPo power baby. I had to shorten it due to the regulations of this sub, but I'll answer any more questions in the comments.